Here we're going to take a look at the Babylonian numeral system. One of the most important things about the Babylonian numeral system that you need to keep in mind is that it is base 60. This is a different kind of number system than we're used to working with. We do use base 60 more than you think. Anytime you use a clock, if you say, how long is 72 minutes anyway? Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so that's an hour and 12 minutes. You've just used base 60. So it's not completely foreign, but it's not something that we work with very often, especially in things that we write down. There are really only two symbols in the Babylonian number system. This one, which represents the number 1, and this one, which represents the number 10. The reason for that is the Babylonians didn't have pen and paper. What they did was they would press a reed into clay, and they could press it in vertically or turn it and press it in horizontally, and that's the two symbols they could make. And they would collect these together to make other numbers. For example, if you wanted to write the number 34, you would use 3 of those and 4 of those. And that would be the number 34. Now, we're limited by our keyboards, and our keyboards don't have these symbols on them. So instead, what we're going to use is the symbol for less than and a capital letter I. So that's how we're going to write the number 34 in our course. Now, let's say we were given the Hindu Arabic numeral 42, and we're going to write that in Babylonian numerals. Well, that's not very hard, is it? We just need to do 10, 20, 30, 42. And so there's the number 42. Things get a little more complicated when we introduce more place values. For example, if we're given this Babylonian numeral, and I want you to notice the space in here. That's how we know we've got a place value difference. So what we've got here in our base 60 is this is our 1s column, and this is our 60s column. So the number that we've just been given has 2 60s and 12 1s. And so that's 120 plus 12. So the number we were just given corresponds to 132. This Babylonian numeral corresponds to 132. I've just noticed what I've done there in both of these cases. I went ahead and used the actual Babylonian symbol. When you guys type it, just use the less than. I apologize for that. It's habit, and I'll try to avoid it in the rest of this video. Okay, let's say we are given the Hindu Arabic numeral 674, and we want to write that as a Babylonian numeral. Okay, and I'm just going to start putting less thans and capital I's all over the page. I'm going to think this through. I'm going to start out with, well, I'm going to need some 1s. I'm going to need some 60s. And then what would the next place value be? Well, let's see. This is 60 to the 0 power. This is 60 to the 1st power. So the next place value would be 60 to the 2nd power, which is 3,600s. Well, my number isn't that big, so I'm not going to need any 3600s. I'm just going to need 1s and 60s. And the next question I have to find out is, well, how many of each of those am I going to need? So the first thing I need to do is, how many times will 60 go into 674? And I do that on my calculator, and I get 11 point something. I don't care about this something. That's not what matters to me. What matters is I know that I'm going to need 11 60s in order to write this number. So I need 11 60s. I'm trying to get to 674. And to do that, so far, I've got 60 times 11, which is 660. So I'm trying to get to the number 674. I've got 660 accounted for, which leaves me 14 more. Well, that's how many ones I'm going to need. So I'm going to need 11 60s and 14 ones. So now we'll write that as a Babylonian numeral. I need 11 60s and 14 ones. And that is the number 674.